Welcome to the BCM Podcast. I'm today's host, Michael Searle. That is a funny face on Brad there. Gosh, you right at the right moment on that screenshot.
Yeah, he did.
I'm today's host. You're welcome. I'm here with Charles.
What are you doing in my box? Get out of here. You're crazy.
I'm here as always with Charles Ronnie Coleman Blain up there in the top left. And then at the bottom, we have Brad Steroids Karen Swail. Welcome, gentlemen.
I'm sorry that I care about my black friend's health.
Oh.
We were just talking about
if it was a white man?
Huh?
Would you care about it if it was a white man?
I feel like that would be racist.
You don't care about my health. You care about yourself.
I care deeply about your health, and I've shown you that many times.
Okay, what's my blood glucose level?
I don't give a fuck.
Too high. Drinking them sodies. I try different nicknames each week and that I host, and one of them is going to stick. I still think Charles Missing Middle Housing or whatever that one was pretty good. But we'll see. One of them will stick eventually. All right. So if you're new to the show, welcome. If you're a returning guest, thank you for your continued support. We've had a whirlwind of a week here. But before we get to that, remember, like the video, subscribe to the channel, all that stuff. And then if you post this episode on X and tag us at BCM Podcast, or our Twitter handles are right there in our names, we'll send you a hat. Where's my hat? A BCM hat. It says Knuckleheads on the side.
Wow.
It's beautiful. A black hat.
Otherwise, I would have worn it. But it is a very comfortable hat.
It is a quite comfortable hat once you really break it in.
Really know how to say it, huh?
No, you know. So, all right. I know I'm wearing the MAGA hat for a reason. It's Trump's first 5 days in office, and it has just been a shitstorm of activity. Am I right? But
you're right.
But before we get to that, all right. So on his way out, former president now Biden, in the last few seconds of his presidency, he pardoned 5 of his family members of J6, so Liz Cheney and those people, the police officers who testified at the J6 committee, and Dr. Anthony Fauci. I'm wondering, do you guys think this was a blatant admission of wrongdoing, or is he actually protecting them from a overzealous Trump DOJ?
Brad.
Charles.
Oh, me. I think it's different for different people. I think for most of those people, like I don't know, right? Like I think, okay. So Liz Cheney, all these other people, Fauci, I could see realistic reasons for why you would open up inquiries or why you would go and see if there are prosecutable offenses there. But like, if what is your family doing? Like, what is your family? There's something going on there. There's like, where there's smoke, there's fire there. The Liz Cheney thing could go either way, right? People could call it political prosecution, or there could be something there. But like, if your family needs pardons because of something that potentially may or may not have happened, then it probably happened. And I find that highly suspicious. That's the one that really sticks with me. It's like the entire Biden crime syndicate gets pardoned the last day. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Imagine except for him and his wife. Except for him and his wife, he didn't pardon them.
Well, I mean, who really goes in? I was about to say, who really goes after a former president?
Some people do.
But I think common, perception for years has been who goes after a former president and or their spouse. And he probably did not have much to do, like in terms of the organization of the crime. I don't believe it was him. I believe it was everybody around him. And so, but yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's nuts. It's nuts. Absolutely nuts.
Something needs to be done about this pardon power.
We're going to get to that.
So God, I don't understand. I feel like I'm answering your question, but
that's fine. No, go. It was one of my questions.
Something needs to be done about this pardoning power. This can't stand. This is totally retarded. You can't do this. You can't just, Charles, I said the word. You're welcome. You can't just pardon people for crimes known and unknown for an indefinite amount of time. There's no possible way that was the intention of the pardon power. He can just, if you're going to pardon someone, you need to tell us what you're pardoning them for. What is their offense? What's going on here? You pardon Fauci. Why? Explain it to the American people like they took the vaccine to save their job, or they took the vaccine to see their family, or their kids to go to school, or they took the vaccine for a free fucking donut, right? Explain it to them like that, please. Yeah. Why are you pardoning him? What did he do?
Well, the argument obviously they're going to make is that they're just doing this because the weaponized Justice Department's going to come after them. That's what they're going to say.
Weaponize the Justice Department after them, but it's Donald Trump and he doesn't do that.
Yeah. Did you hear what Andrew Schultz said?
Don't do this. Like, how many times did we chant, lock her up, lock her up, lock her up? And then he got in office. That would be bad for the country. That's what the Republicans always say.
Yeah. Did you hear what Andrew Schultz said? He said, you pardon Dr. Anthony Fauci? What the fuck is in my arm?
Yeah. Yeah. That's what people should be asking. You can't, like, I can understand you pardon, a military, whatever, like somebody in the military, you send them to do some job and something fucks up and they do something they shouldn't have done, but it was all part of the job. I get, all right, you pardon it. It's not something that I get the logic behind that, but this is Hunter Biden and your family and Fauci and Milley. Yeah. Tell us about the Milley pardon. What the fuck? How many trillions of dollars did we spend on this dumb war on terror to only have the worst possible Afghanistan withdrawal that we could possibly imagine?
Did he? Yeah. Was Hunter included in the pardons?
Yeah. Well, he got the first one.
Are you dead or something? What is that happened so long ago?
He pardoned him.
He pardoned Hunter Biden for all crimes known and
probably no. You know what? Now that you're thinking, yes.
2014.
Okay. Sorry. Brain fart. I remember that. For some reason, I kept envisioning the pardon he did to the family, and I was running through those names, and I didn't see it. But you're right. Okay, sorry.
The interesting thing about the Fauci one is the pardon goes back to 2014. Are you telling me they just sat there and pulled a number out of their butt and were like, well, 2014 sounds like a good time? It seems to me that that's a pretty specific date.
Yeah,
that they're going back to. So what has Fauci been up to, even pre-COVID, that he could possibly need a pardon for? I saw all of this, and maybe I'm just being a partisan, but maybe not. I saw all of this as a blatant admission of guilt. Like, you did it. There's been one, as somebody who's been involved in the pardon process, there's been one preemptive pardon in the history of the country. One. And that was Richard Nixon. And even at that time, they're like, well, a pardon is usually for a crime that you've committed. And what they said at that time was, well, he admitted that he did it in his statement to the public. So we're pardoning him for the crime that he admitted to doing. In this case, with Fauci and the J6ers, which we could get to because they destroyed all the evidence and testimony and everything that they collected during that process. And Fauci, there's not a crime. What is the crime? What are we pardoning them for exactly?
Well, it's very deliberate. Like you said, the 2014 time, that why go back to 2014? Why not go back to the 80s during the AIDS crisis? Why not just his entire life? Like, why, right. What's special about that day? And we all know that Joe Biden has no fucking clue that he did this.
No.
Who did this? I don't know. Maybe Trump could, in the spirit of healing the country and erasing these divides, these political divides that we have, he could be just totally transparent and release all communication about these pardons. You know that Biden didn't do this shit. There's got to be emails, memos, right?
Yeah, there's got to be something.
Are we gonna get that? No, because nothing ever happens.
Oh, come on! You're such a cynic.
There's definitely not emails or a paper trail. These people are not stupid. We're talking about the highest levels of government. These conversations were not happening over email or note.
I mean, I don't know if you're aware of all of the emails and stuff like that between Fauci and
but what you're talking about is the pardons, which is them coordinating that. And if you think that he actually did something illegal and they were coordinating pardons for that reason, then that's not going to be in writing.
It's going to be somewhere.
And you're talking about them not doing it outside of the realm of the president. I mean, I think
You're saying it was all phone calls and in-person meetings and never anything ever.
I mean, if he's not running the country, all you got to do is just go in there and this is the list. I don't think it took that much coordination.
So but you're saying that Biden just off the top of his, here's the list, pardon them, and that's it?
No, I'm agreeing with you that he probably is not involved in it. But what I'm saying is that the people who are, I think, know a bit better than that. And because he was not involved in it, made sure that that was not going to be in writing.
There's some paper trail, but I think Charles is right that whatever the offense or possible offense or the reasoning for why they chose the 2014 date in the case of Anthony Fauci is probably not in those written communications. Of course, there's back and forth emails between White House counsel and the staff about who is on the list, and we got to get these documents to POTUS and stuff like that. But any evidence of wrongdoing probably isn't there. But that doesn't mean that there can't be investigations. That's what a bunch of people on the right are saying, including my favorite senator, Rand Paul. Like, this ain't going to stop me from investigating you.
Well,
this isn't going to stop me from
investigating even harder.
Yeah, you don't get a pardon from subpoenas. Like, you don't get a pardon from a trial. You get a pardon from a crime. So it doesn't stop them from investigating him. And then, so my next question was, and this is kind of to Brad's.
Before we get into the question, I want to point out that we got quite a few people listening live, and I would love to hear from them in the comments.
Yeah, what the heck is happening?
What the heck do you think
pardons,
fellas?
Like how I toned down my language when we had viewers. So Brad always says that progressivism never ends, right? It just keeps going. So isn't the logical next step that the president is going to just pardon people for their lifetime? Isn't like that the next thing?
Yeah, well, I mean, progressive, it's in the name. It's the definition of progress. You don't, like, if that's your motto, it's what you live by, it's your political philosophy is progress. What are you progressing towards? If you don't define what you're progressing towards, then it is never ending. And we have Rita says that she hears what?
Rita Lepore.
Okay. I hear Putin's probably going to charge him with crimes against humanity. I think she's referring to Anthony Fauci, and there was some chatter on the social about that this morning that Putin would try to extradite him to Russia to face criminal charges in Russia. I'm not sure what criminal charges he would be facing in Russia, but I would love to see it.
Crimes against humanity. She just said it.
I know, but what crimes against? You can't just say crimes against. What are the crimes? Aren't there crimes? Isn't there a definition? Like, what is the?
That is the crime. Crimes against humanity.
Okay, well, you're a crime against humanity. So yeah, is the next step just pardoning for a lifetime? Yeah, probably. I don't know if that's going to happen, like when that's going to happen, but I would not be surprised when it does. And we're going to be on this podcast, and we're going to be talking about it, and y'all are going to look back and say, "Gosh, Brad was right," and it won't be the first time, and it won't be the last.
Yeah, well, it will be the first because I don't remember us ever saying that. So I'm gonna pivot us because Biden wasn't the only one doing the pardoning this week. Trump announced some pardons. Let's see if you guys have some consistency in your arguments here.
It's different situations, but go on.
So Trump always also used the pardon power. The first thing he did was pardon 1,500-ish J6 prisoners. And then he pardoned Ross Ulbricht, which I know Charles has opinions about. And then finally, he pardoned some religious protesters who were protesting outside of an abortion clinic. I think that's the details of the thing. What do you guys think of that? We'll start with Brad.
I'm actually related to Ross Ulbricht.
Oh, yeah. I know his mom.
I mean, I don't know. Like, I think it's through marriage on my dad's side somehow, but I think that I'm related to him. My brother told me that this week, and I was like, no fucking way. What do I think about the J6 pardons? Yeah, I think that they were railroaded by the system, and I think they deserve a pardon. My understanding is they were treated quite poorly.
Every single one of them?
Every single one, to the last man, you know?
They all deserve pardons, no, just blanket or like
blanket pardons, buddy, all of them, and their family, just in case.
Preemptive pardons.
2014 until now. Yeah, I think that. I mean, does every single one of them? I don't know enough about every single individual case. I think that these people deserve pardons more than Anthony Fauci. The weight of their potential crimes is much less than Anthony Fauci. So yeah, I can be a little inconsistent, if you will, Michael, in my arguments by saying this is not the same situation. You know, the guy was the officer that shot Ashley Babbitt. He got a pardon. You know, sure, I don't know. Like, what are they? What were their crimes? What were they? They were never charged with insurrection, as far as I know. What were their crimes?
Nobody was.
Right. So I don't know. I have no problem with that. I'd be happy to change my mind. I'm open. I'm an open book.
Charles disagrees.
Where'd that come from?
I can see skeptical all over your face.
I mean, a little bit. I think leading up to that, there was an interview. I believe it was maybe not Sunday. I don't know when it was, but very recently, within the week before inauguration, where they were asking JD Vance about the pardons, and he said there would be no blanket pardons. They would be going through each one of them, and some of them weighed differently because of what happened. And so I thought that's what would happen. No, I don't believe in blanket anything. Like, go through each one of them, and I'm sure you will find one. Huh?
You do believe in blanket things.
Like what?
Housing policy.
Yep. Blanket and land reform.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you do. 100%. Go on.
I 100%
You're
don't.
100% fine with the state of Texas passing blanket land reform use for all.
When did I say that?
You do. You support it. You're on the freaking board of the people that are trying to do it.
Give me one example of what you're talking about.
ADUs. Minimum lot size. ADUs.
Minimum lot size is not a blanket policy. It's giving range. It's saying this is the floor. I mean, this is the limit in which the city can do, and then beyond that, that's it. It's not saying you have to have minimum lot sizes of 750 square feet.
Blanket reform. Go on.
It's not blanket though. That's the thing. It still gives range.
All right, we'll get into housing. We'll get into housing policy when that stuff heats up in the text ledge.
They should be viewed individually and in and of their own, and then merits considered, and then I'm
going to clip this. I'm going to clip all of this for when I testify at the state house against you on housing reform. I'm going to clip it.
He's serious.
And so that's how I feel about that.
Do we have any evidence that any of the blanket J6 pardons, and I do want to get to Ross Ulbricht because I want to argue with Charles, but do we have any evidence that that any of the pardons that were given were maybe not reviewed? Because I saw 1,500 pardons, and then there were a couple handfuls of commutations, and I was under the impression that the commutations were for people who maybe had altercations with police officers, had physical violence or something like that, and the 1,500 people were more like the trespassing on the Capitol grounds, which they shouldn't have gone to jail for in the first place.
Isn't that evidence of individual review happening at some level?
Certainly at some level, there was a decision made to give at least a select handful of people a different remedy.
Right. So they would have had to look at every individual and see who's who. I'm not saying that they went super beyond that. Maybe that's all they did, but that would be evidence of individual review to some extent.
Yep.
So what was your question?
There wasn't a question.
Oh, okay.
I was just making a comment. Okay. Ross Ulbricht. Ross Ulbricht, just a little background. He was the founder of Silk Road, which is a website back in the, early 2010s that allowed people to buy and sell goods, some of them illegal, some of them legal, online, using Bitcoin. I think it was just Bitcoin at the time. The FBI shut down the website and went on this huge manhunt. There's like a big documentary about it called Silk Road. He gets put in jail for creating the website for a life sentence, 3 life sentences, no option of parole. And he was 28 at the time. He was just released after 10 years. He's 38 years old now. Trump pardoned him. It was a promise he made to the crypto people, and promises made, promises kept. Isn't that the slogan these days? Charles, tell me what you think after you did all that additional research.
I mean, I think it's great. I think Ross Ulbricht, however you pronounce his last name, deserves to be pardoned, just like everybody else that's pardoned. No, I don't know how I feel about this, honestly. I'm split. I think 3 life sentences is a lot. There was also a lot of human and sex trafficking on Silk Road. And I'm split. I don't know. If is there human and sex trafficking on, I don't know, like a web, I'm sure there's a website or like, right.
StreamYard?
What is it?
StreamYard?
Sure. Should the owners get 3 life sentences? I mean, there's only so much you can control, but it's, I don't know. I don't know. I'm split on it.
Well,
but 3 life sentences is very excessive. I can say that much. That's crazy.
I think that the argument would be that he created a website with specific intent for these things to happen, right? Like there were tabs like for drugs and sex trafficking and all that sort of stuff that he created. And I think one person, someone could say, well, this stuff happens on Instagram or Snapchat or Facebook or X or whatever, and it's a very well-known problem, but yet it still happens. Why aren't these people getting 2 life sentences plus 40 years? Well, I think the difference is that they're not necessarily they're not creating like a special, there's no Instagram button for fentanyl, right? You got to kind of know the lingo for it to happen, or for CP. There's not a CP button. But, I don't know if this was a real life like flea market and I advertised it as, come here and sell kids and drugs. I'm just setting up the place for you to do it. Wouldn't that be illegal for me? Isn't that bad for me to do? Do I deserve 2 life sentences plus 40 years? Maybe not, but kind of seems like that's not a legal thing to do. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I don't know enough about it. Michael, you're about to educate us.
No, not really. I think it was less explicit than what you're describing. I think all sorts of crimes happen over all sorts of platforms, whether it's intentional for Instagram to allow sex trafficking or not. It happens on there. And should Instagram be responsible criminally for what happens on its platform? I don't think so. And I think in the same case, even if it was created for the specific purpose of allowing illicit things to happen, I still don't think the person that created it should be responsible for the crimes committed on it, because he didn't commit any of the crimes. He just created a platform for them to be
committed,
for it to be available. So I don't know why could he be charged with conspiracy? I don't know. I don't think that fits. I think he was a kid. He saw an opportunity. He made a website. People did a bunch of bad things, and his sentence was way too long. Should he have gotten no sentence at all? I don't think that's what I'm saying. I don't think that's what I'm arguing. But life sentence plus 2 or 3 life sentence plus 40 years, yeah, that's excessive. And 10 years in prison is probably enough.
I just think of all the people who were in jail because they, have an establishment and they let, the mafia use it as a meeting place or something like that, and who get caught up in racketeering charges or something, or people who have a vehicle and they let that vehicle be used for some sort of drug transaction, even if they're not involved in it, and that vehicle seized and then they're arrested. I just think about people like that. That's what I get frustrated about with a lot of things, not just this, but overall, is that we put a lot of focus on the ones that are famous. And then we forget about a lot of the other ones. And I don't mean us on this podcast. I mean, I'm even equating this back to when Trump was going through his trial, and suddenly everybody's like, the criminal justice system's 2-tiered. Well, it's been 2-tiered. This isn't new.
Yeah.
So I guess that's part of my hesitancy to appreciate his release. But I agree, that time that's excessive by any means.
But don't take it out on Ross Ulbricht. Take it out on the conspiracy laws that put people like Alice Johnson in jail for a life sentence for a minor part in a conspiracy. That's not a problem with Ross Ulbricht. That's a problem with the sentencing guidelines and the conspiracy laws and the racketeering laws that allow prosecutors to basically threaten these people with huge sentences if they don't take a plea deal so they can get another conviction on their resume. So on Ross, it seemed pretty clear to me that he had served enough time for what he did, and I'm glad that he's out.
Yeah, Ross Ulbricht, if you're watching this, we'd love to have you on the show. We'd love to, to talk to you about your experience.
We might be able to make that happen.
If we're related.
Yeah, we could probably make that happen.
I don't know for sure if we're related, but I think we are.
Well, you should
we're going to find out
before he sues you for defamation.
Interesting. I mean, he's the one that was. Why would that? Wouldn't it go the other way?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. I'll take your word for it.
So, anything on the other pardons that Trump did, or is that good?
The fuck was that, Charles?
Flashlight.
My cop light.
Your what?
My cop light.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else on the pardons? I don't think so. No.
Who do you want to see Trump pardon next? Go.
I see a pardon next.
I don't have anybody.
Ed Snowden. Let's go.
Yeah, Ed Snowden would be good. That makes sense. Of course. Yeah, pardon Ed Snowden for sure. I don't know why that hasn't happened yet. He should.
Anybody else
at the very top of his list? Charles.
Yeah. Who's that guy down in Houston that got in all that trouble?
Busby?
No.
Jay-Z?
No. I mean, yes, but not. That's not who I'm thinking
all
of.
that trouble. I don't know.
Former U.S. Congressman.
God,
what's his name?
Yeah. Oh man.
Just skip it. Who cares?
I
can't remember. Famous case. Yeah.
All right, we got more Trump to talk about, but I'm going to change subjects here for a second. All right, Texas House of Representatives has a new Speaker of the House. They adopted House rules yesterday. There's a big debate on the X about whether or not Texas has Democratic chairs. One side is saying we do. The other side is saying we don't. I can't make any sense of it. I was hoping that you guys could shed some light on
shut up. That's
fuck,
out.
what the fuck these people are talking about. Brad Swail, what's going on?
Well, we have past guest Lacey Hull, Representative Lacey Hull. She said moments ago, I just voted to ban Democrat chairs in the Texas House.
Okay, before we get too far.
Conservative priority in one, banned Democrat chairs. Lacey
before we
Hull.
Get too far.
Representative, I think that, it sounds, and people are very upset. But again, I don't understand what people are calling her a liar. She hates Texans. The comments say that you're a one-term I don't understand why. Could you explain why all but one Democrat voted in favor? I don't understand what's happening. Why are people upset about this? She voted to ban Democrat chairs.
Quick thing. Two things really quick. Every time
what are your thoughts on this?
Every time she posts something, there's always a couple people who are like, you're going to be a one-term. She's been re-elected twice. Like, why do you guys keep saying that? Like, she is. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Two, it is Democratic. And this has been killing me from day one with this whole movement.
What's Democratic?
The word is Democratic. It is the Democratic Party, the Democratic National Committee. It is they are the Democratic Party, so you ban Democratic chairs. Just like if you were just to suddenly say ban Republic chairs, like no, it's the Republican Party. And so and this is a thing that Republicans do all the time. They always say Democrat rather than Democratic, and it's just it's a.
I think that's on purpose because they don't want them to be the party of democracy. Yeah,
the English is evolved. English is it evolves. It grows. Maybe you should learn to grow with it, Charles.
I like using words.
To be used. So the haters are saying, and let me try to get my head around what the haters are saying, because the vote was like 117 or something. It was something that's pretty significant. So a lot of Republicans, even those that didn't support Burroughs, voted in favor of these new rules.
For the record, Briscoe Kane is listed as a yes. He changed his vote to a no. That was an accident. He said it was misrecorded. Did
he tell you why?
Well, he didn't accidentally vote. It was just a mistake, and then he fixed it in the journal. He said, why did he vote no? Because it empowered the Democrats by. There was a rule. Well, one, they didn't let them do amendments, and they wanted to do amendments, and he said it was kind of pushed on them in short order. It was uploaded apparently at 4 a.m. and then the vote was later that day. Usually with amendments, they would be given 24 hours to lay it out and be able to consider it. So it came fast. And others have said that it's because it empowers the vice chairs and only Democrats can be vice chairs. And so by doing that, you are effectively elevating them to maybe a place or close to the place of chairs. That's the other argument I heard.
Yeah, I kind of heard that there are subcommittees that Democratic members may be chairing the subcommittees, and on the committees they gave the vice chairs more powers. So it's actually like they're a co-chair, but they're called the vice chair, and Democratic members can be, like how I'm saying Democratic, can be vice chairs or something like that. I don't know. I can't make any sense of it, but
well, it said something along the lines of chairs have to consult with their vice chairs, and then in a separate part it said only Democrats shall be vice chairs. And so it's saying that they explicitly have to be vice chairs, and I think they're given some sort of agenda setting ability too. And so some say that it didn't do anything and that it empowered Democrats and actually went the other direction, whereas the other side says this was the best thing ever. They fully banned Democratic chairs. This is the same thing that we always hear, property tax, biggest property tax relief in the history of the world. It was the most liberal property tax session ever. I mean, it's always the same thing. But in this instance, based on my read and based on their limited ability to actually consider it and like have to go through it really fast in what seems like, I don't know, 16 hours or so, it doesn't seem like it was a good thing.
According to CBS Austin, Democrats lose chairmanships and power in the Texas House. The Texas legislature voted to make a big change in how they conduct business. The Texas House of Representatives adopted new rules for the legislative session that prohibit the appointment of Democrats as committee chairs. So no Democrat committee chairs. With a vote of 116 to 23, the Texas House snubbed a decades-long tradition of giving some committee chair positions to members of the minority party. Does that answer it?
Austin. I think it's technically true.
It's technically true, yeah.
But that raises the question, why did all the Democrats vote for it? So there was a concession made, and that's what the opposition is hemming and hawing about. But there's no Democrat chairs. So
yeah. And that's great. Go. And if the Democrats, why would every Democrat vote for it if it was so bad for them?
Because the only other option would be their other option would be worse.
What's their other option?
Well, it's either vote for this package or we're going to do one that doesn't give you these powers as vice chairs.
Right.
You know, in a negotiation. So they just went with in their view, the lesser of two evils, the shit sandwich with two pieces of bread.
And one turd.
What?
A shit sandwich? Do you want a shit sandwich with one piece of bread or two pieces of bread, Brad?
I mean, I guess if I had to choose, I would think two pieces of bread would be better. I think. Yeah. Doesn't that make logical sense that maybe it might mask the taste a little bit more?
No, that's just more bread for the shit to mix with. And so,
well, I mean, if you think about it this way, if it's a percentage question, right? What percentage of your meal is shit? You would want it to be on the lowest possible the lowest percentage possible, right?
But nobody's saying two pieces of bread gives you less shit in the sandwich.
It gives you a less percentage. Right?
Okay, sure. In the sandwich, great, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not excited about eating it one way or the other. I'm just saying, I think that I would take two pieces of bread.
I would take one and make it like a little empanada so that I can just eat and be done.
Oh, you're eating more shit.
Shit empanada.
As a per capita basis, you're eating more shit than me.
It's like the bread is the chaser, Charles. Let's put it in terms you understand. The bread is the chaser. You don't want less chaser. You know what? I don't know what you're shooting.
True.
Maybe you're shooting Bacardi 151. Like you need a significant amount of chaser there. You don't want less. Yeah.
What are you shooting nowadays, Charles? Besides steroids?
Oh, I need to text somebody about that.
I'm a tequila person, or I've been
not in Trump's America, buddy. All right, tequila is being deported.
I mean, tequila from the southern tip of the northern southern. I can't speak.
Okay.
Gulf of Mexico.
Gulf of America.
Gulf of America.
When I look at my map, it still says Gulf of Mexico.
So that
your map is fucking
outdated,
lame.
It's a good. That's a good transition point. So I'll get to snow later because I want to hear what you guys thought about the snow. But Trump issued some, 100+ executive orders this week, from borders and cartels to energy, declassifying certain files, and establishing official government definitions. What were your favorite executive orders? Which do you think will have the most impact?
Well, I think my favorite executive order is going to be the declassification of the JFK, Martin Luther King, and RFK files, only because nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to. It could be fully unredacted. I kind of agree with the argument. I think that there's if they have the power to like keep this stuff secret for decades and decades like they have, they also have the power to just like delete it, and like you would never know. So it's not even if it's a smoking gun, LBJ pulled the trigger and he was the second man on the grassy knoll or whatever, no one's going to do anything. Everything's going to be business as usual. And I want people to see that, and then maybe they'll do something else. Maybe people will start doing something different.
You don't think that knowing is in and of itself a positive outcome?
What do you do with that knowledge?
We just know.
And then what? We keep doing the same thing? That drives me crazy.
I mean, we can't go dig Lyndon Johnson out of the. I mean, his reputation will be tarnished even more so than it is. Mm-hmm. The Democrats will lose their mind because he's like say it's him. The Democrats will lose their mind because he's one of their favorite presidents. But it'll have ripple effects on history. I just want to know. I don't even care about seeing action to do anything. I just want to know what the answer is. Why? Because
if your worst fears are true, let's just say it's a president, a vice, whatever. The government killed a president. The CIA killed him. LBJ was involved. You just want to know, and like you don't care if anything happens after that. Like that's infuriating. You would want something to happen. You would want justice. You would want the whole system to come crumbling down, because the system is obviously not set up to serve you. It's set up to serve the oligarchs and the CIA and the FBI and the intelligence community and all this other bullshit. Why would you be okay with that?
Because we know the answer, and more people will now know that the government does what you're saying it does.
And then do what?
Stop voting for people like Biden.
Vote for AOC for president and
that's gonna happen.
2028. Yeah, that's what's gonna happen.
So I actually agree with you. I actually don't think we're gonna learn anything. I think the CIA is sophisticated enough to know what a shredder is.
Yeah.
And anything that has any amount of information that would illuminate the true conspiracy behind killing the president was long gone. I mean, his brain is missing, folks. Like, they took his brain because it showed a different path of a bullet than what they were telling us. So why wouldn't they take some documents and put them in a shredder?
Charles?
Yeah. No, it's crazy. The brain thing, when I first found out about that, was nuts. Like, how is his brain missing? Like, that's crazy to me. Where is it?
You think the brain thing is nuts? Just wait till you hear about his nuts.
Who has it? And where, like, whose home is it sitting in? Like, it's just nuts. Or is it in the garbage, right? So that's crazy. But I guess you want my answer to the original question, not commentary on this. I think that's what
that'd be great. Yeah.
So
original question.
Huh?
I answered the original question. Go on.
Yeah, but he didn't ask me. I didn't answer the original question. So
please.
Some of my favorites are he's suspended the U.S. participation in the global tax deal, which is an international agreement that's set to set a minimum corporate tax globally to prevent companies that are multinational from evading taxes. So that was one of my favorites. The other was, I guess it wasn't really an executive order, but the pause on the ban on TikTok. Who doesn't love a good TikTok? And I'm actually it's funny because I never had TikTok, but when the conversation about it was ramping up towards that last week, I downloaded it and I uploaded a video on it and I went viral, and then they shut it down. And I was like, damn, I just got famous on TikTok. And so now I'm glad it's back.
You had a viral video on TikTok? What were you doing?
It wasn't me. It was just something from city council, actually. But what?
Was it you or TikTok?
Yeah, it was my TikTok. Yeah.
Your TikTok account. Okay. So a video you posted. All right. But you were not in the video. Okay. I'm just clarifying.
No, I was not in the video.
Okay.
And then the last is that he gave federal recognition to the Lumbee tribe of North Carolina.
Oh, you really did your homework.
Yeah.
You don't care about that. Shut up.
He texted back, so of course I do.
Native American and has family in North and South Carolina and loves when Native tribes are recognized because they are the fabric that built this nation. before we were a nation, I do appreciate when they are federally recognized.
They couldn't have built this nation.
The land, they tilled this land with their own hands. They domesticated animals, especially those horses in North Carolina that now run wild.
Okay, whatever. Who texted you back, Michael?
Oh, my friend Charles texting me back. He said, "Oh, gee, Michael, what would ever make you ask me a question like that?" Of course I do.
I was asking his friend about
the T and the S.
milk.
Yeah, he wants some raw milk.
He
wants some raw milk.
I don't feel like
we'll connect off.
But that's fine.
We'll connect off the show on that front.
Well, no, now
so
this sounds suspicious.
Is this the Silk Road of podcasts? What's happening?
Heck yeah, it is.
No,
Let's go.
His friend is into performance enhancing drugs.
Yes,
performance enhancing drugs.
Testosterone.
You want that asterisk by your name? I get it.
Oh.
PEDs. Him and Barry Bonds, who should be in the Hall of Fame. So, obviously my favorite executive order, the files. I'm interested in the RFK and the MLK ones as well, because although there hasn't been as much attention to those over the years, there's some suspicious. There's some questions that need to be answered there too. I think there was more involvement than what we know. So I'm interested to see that too. And we'll see if we get answers. I'm kind of skeptical that we'll get answers, but the broader question that I have about all this executive order action is, and this is directly to Brad and all your captain skepticism and just being a Debbie Downer all the time.
I love life.
No, I know, but about politics and about the U.S. government, about the Trump administration and all. Nothing's going to change. Nothing ever changes. All that poo-pooing stuff. Isn't it actually changing? We just had a president, whether or not the files are there, declassify all this government documents related to the JFK, RFK, MLK assassination. We had a president issue an executive order to go after the cartels and completely shut the border down. We had a president attempting to unleash American energy. We have all of these executive orders that overturn the status quo of how things have been done in the past.
Yep.
Are we actually not in some sort of revolution? And is his intention not to get away or do away with the status quo, but to move into some new form of government?
Will the revolution? Will the revolution be through executive order?
No.
Okay, so it kind of seems like that partially answers the question.
Will it be televised?
On this show,
documentary.
Things are happening, but to what end? I don't know. I don't see the federal government necessarily getting smaller, or I don't think. Is he going to do the External Revenue Service and abolish the IRS? That sounds cool. I hope he does it. I don't know. I'm holding out. I'm gonna wait and see. I'm a wait and see type of guy with this sort of stuff. I've been burned too many times. There's been too many strongly worded letters for my taste. It seems like things are going. Was the Stargate, the AI thing, is that an executive order? Where they're going to use AI? They're going to use AI to map our cancers and provide us with custom mRNA vaccines. Sounds fucking awful. Thank you.
Did you see how Elon Musk was poking holes in that on Twitter?
I don't follow Nazis. So, Michael Searle. He's just.
I was just pointing.
He's giving us his heart. That's what's happening. Yeah. Michael.
He's autistic.
Who is?
Yeah. Elon Musk.
Elon Musk.
Michael Searle. Yeah, I don't think that. I don't think that he's. To answer your question, Michael, I'm going to wait and see. I don't know that I don't think the revolution is going to happen through executive orders, and I don't. We'll see what happens if AOC is indeed president as you want her to be the next time around in 2028. Then I think that she'll do a bunch of executive orders again, and it'll just be a big seesaw back and forth.
So you don't think Congress is, and Charles, you can jump in here too. Congress, so you don't think Congress is going to back him up?
I mean, why would they do that?
Example: Trump by executive order creates Doge. gives them an office in the president, in the White House or whatever he did, in the administration, and they make recommendations to cut $3 trillion in government spending. Let's say what you're saying is, yes, that's a revolutionary idea. It's a reduction in the size and scope of government. It's headed in the right direction, but Congress is not going to act on that.
I don't think Congress is going to stand in the way of these executive orders, but I don't think they're going to codify them into law.
Yeah. I agree with that. I feel like, some of them, sure, but most of them, I don't think they're worried about that. I think they're like, you do that parallel over here, we're going to do these things. If it's something they benefit from politically, yeah, sure, they might try to go to codify that into law, but I don't see them chasing down a lot of these to make them law.
Yeah, but
I just don't have faith in them either. So that's another reason.
Yeah, but you think the Republican Congress is going to oppose Donald Trump and Elon Musk?
No, not oppose. I just think they're going to do nothing like they always do.
But if they say we got 3 million in cuts, Congress needs to do something.
How many?
3 million cuts, or 3 trillion in cuts. They're going to have to. They're going to have so much pressure. They're going to have to do something, aren't they?
Pressure from who? From Elon Musk,
Trump, and Musk. Yeah,
but are they going to
grassroots?
Are they going to get pressure from their constituents? Like if people that won by, like it's always like, someone won 51-49. Like they're not going to be like super like full MAGA Republican. Let's do this fucking, like they might sort of like half-ass and pay it lip service, but when it comes down to it, are they really going to fight for it? I don't know. I don't think so.
No, what'll end up happening is they're going to come out and say we found 40 trillion billion kajillion dollars of cuts, and then Congress is going to be like, only 20 billion of these we can really implement because we need this program. This program gives money to my podunk district in Minnesota. This program, blah, 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 and it's going to water down. And they'll give us cuts that are probably the biggest cuts we've seen in a long time in government, but they're going to pale in comparison to what this, I don't say ineffective, but powerless committee does or proposes.
I feel like podunk and you say Michigan. I don't think those go together.
Minnesota.
I don't think podunk and Minnesota go together. Like podunk, I think podunk is like a southern thing.
No, it just means small town.
Yeah,
I understand the mean. I still think that colloquially it's more associated with southern states, but that's fine. I mean, whatever. But you looking it up, Charles?
I was looking up Minnesota, and the smallest town in Minnesota is Funkley, and it has a population of 18. So podunk.
Yeah, but I think that they call it podunk. I don't think that they say that, but whatever.
You go to Minnesota and find out and let me know.
I'm all right. I don't want to go to that shithole. So what's wrong?
That's fucked up.
You called Funkley a shithole.
I called
Charles is offended.
Minnesota a shithole. There are some pretty. I think the whole Elon Musk quote unquote Nazi salute thing. He's not a Nazi, right? It's not. He's not doing that because he's doing a Nazi salute. But there were quite a few videos that I found on Instagram that were funny. What you think it was a Nazi salute?
I think it's possible that he was trolling.
Okay. Yeah.
I think it's possible that he did it on purpose because he knew that people would freak out and he thinks it's funny.
Okay, that's fair. So there's an Instagram account that I follow. It's this comedian. He's not very funny, but I don't know how to pronounce that. But anyhow, he posted a few videos that he got off TikTok of people talking about this. And this black guy does a real good job of joking about it. Let me turn it up.
My heart goes out to y'all. And if y'all ever want to come over and, eat some food, I be cooking, bro. And, we can play some games like Monopoly, all that stuff. I want to let y'all know that my heart goes out to y'all.
It's very good.
That's funny.
This guy's pretty funny.
Hey, Scott, show me how you would throw something.
Throw something?
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's pretty good.
Like that?
Yeah. Show me again.
Yeah, that's how I would throw something.
Yeah.
He's a lefty.
Show me how you would throw your heart.
Throw my heart? Oh.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
It's very good.
On that topic of Congress, whether they're going to follow through, how long do you think Americans will stomach these ICE raids? Because they started, there have been, I think about 1,000 people have been deported.
1,300.
1,300 as of today. How long do you think the American people are going to stomach this? Weeks? Days?
Months?
Oh, more than days.
I don't think it's going to be something we're going to be seeing on the news all the time. I feel like it's going to not right now. I feel like we're going to see it now. Then it's going to die. We're going to be distracted with whatever else, and then we'll see it flare up. But I think it's going to be happening a lot. But also these deportations, while these have been some of these have been ongoing. Like these flights, there's 2 flights out to Guatemala today, I believe. Those have been like going even during the Biden administration. And so some of this stuff isn't new. Now those video I've been seeing on Twitter, people like running up in people's house, like, yeah, that's new. But I think people are going to stomach it for a while. I think look how long we stomached the invasion of the southern border. Like, I mean, how long it took until like the mayor of New York and Chicago and all these people finally said something. It took like 3 years of them conservatives complaining and them collectively stomaching it until they got to a point where they couldn't take it anymore. And the fact that they were willing to speak out about it, I think goes to show how big of a problem it is. And I think the American public is going to stomach seeing what we're seeing now for a decent amount of time.
Well, they quote unquote, Michael?
No, you're probably going to make the same point I'm going to make. So go.
Well, I was going to say they quote unquote stomached it because the entire media and government apparatus was telling you that it wasn't happening. Your absolute favorite, most trusted news source, the New York Times, told people every single day that Republicans and conservatives are racist and the southern border is secure and nothing is happening. Shut your mouth and go back to eating your slop and watching TV. What?
It's not true. You couldn't turn on TV without them talking about another migrant caravan coming across the border. Like that was on the news every single day.
And it's a migrant caravan full of asylum seekers that are here to seek a better life, and you're a racist if you oppose it.
It was on Fox News every single day.
No, guys, do you not remember like when we would be every news station would be like there's a caravan in the middle of Mexico and it's due to be here in 12, like it was always on the news. It was always on the news. The strain that the increase has been putting on public services has long been on the news. Yes, the news did for a long time during the Trump administration try to make it seem as though it was inhumane. That's when we were seeing the videos of them in cages and separating kids from their parents and all that. They tried to really blow that up. But I don't think that once that changed, once he left, we started seeing the news talk about those stories all the time.
JD Vance talked to Raditz or whatever her name was, and about the apartment building being taken over by Tren de Aragua. And she's like, okay, it's just a couple apartment buildings. Like, what's the big deal? Like it was constantly, you're not like, this is fine. Nothing's happening. It's not that big a deal. It's not that many people. They're just asylum seekers. It's all legal. It's not illegal. You're a fucking racist. Shut your mouth. Come on, guys. Of course they were totally on the side of the Biden administration.
Until they weren't.
Until the plan went out, the memo went out. All right, Kamala's our gal.
Yeah. There was a moment, but it was very late in the election cycle where they started acting like they were hard on the border. But for the 3.5 or 3 years and 9 months of the Biden administration, it was not being covered on mainstream media. And when they start doing these deportations and separating, going into homes, raiding homes, that's going to be all over the news. And I saw a poll that said that Americans right now, like 60 something percent, support mass deportations of illegal immigrants. I think that's going to wane pretty fast when all that stuff starts getting plastered on the news.
As long as no kids are harmed and that you don't see kids being separated from their parents, if they can avoid that kind of press coverage, I don't think it's going to wane. I think the support for it's going to stick around for a bit.
We'll see. Because there's also conflicting. It's not actually conflicting. I think the Trump administration, like the Stephen Millers of the world, they want the images on TV because they want to deter other people from trying to cross, and the left wants it on TV because they want to stop it. So I think we're going to see a lot of it. And I don't know. I think it's going to be hard for people to. But we'll see. You might be right. I think I'm right.
And what? They don't stomach it, and then what happens? They don't vote for Trump next time? Guess what? He ain't on the ballot. And as long as that guy who wants a third term isn't successful. But, they can complain. They can yap like Brad, and then eventually it'll just go away.
Well, Congress won't authorize any more funding for Homeland Security is what will end up happening.
Well, then he executive order that he's taking it from the Treasury and that he's gone. All
right, we got 5 minutes left. What What'd you guys do in the snow?
Oh man, I went out there. I hung out with my dog. I sled down a hill or two. I have a park across the street from my house. Everybody was out there sledding. It was amazing. It was you know how cities come together post natural disaster? Well, it felt like that without the disaster part. It was really great.
How much snow did you guys get down there in Houston?
About 4 or 5 inches. Some parts south got like 6, but about 4 or 5 inches.
Dang.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Is that-
Go ahead.
Is that common?
No,
Do you guys get
no.
snow?
No, we never. I mean, we had a light dusting 5 years ago, but no, everything was shut down. Every city built. I was supposed to fly back here on Tuesday. On Sunday night, they closed the airports for Tuesday, so I had to move my flight up to Monday. And then I got out the last flight out of North Carolina into Bush at like 6 o'clock, and then airports were shut down. 1,300 people or so were stuck at the airport because they were stuck in between international flights and stuff. Like the entire city was shut down. Not common at all. They said this was the first time in history that we've had this much in about 60 years that we've had like any sort that accumulated.
It's like climate change. Brad, what'd you do?
It's a global warming of the climate change. What did I do? I mean, my kids went out and threw snowballs and stuff like that. I stayed in with a special needs kid because he doesn't like gloves. Doesn't really like the wearing gloves, and so he doesn't wear gloves. And his hands would get too cold going outside, so I stayed inside.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just kind of tried to make do with what I could. And I had a lot, it's been anxiety every single night about dripping the faucets. Why do we still have to do that in Texas? Why can't you just build houses where you don't have to drip faucets? There's got to be a better way. But yeah, I mean, whatever. Nothing. Yeah, I like it. When the kids like it, that's what matters. I don't know.
Blame climate change. Climate change.
What'd you do? Did you go cold plunging?
I did cold plunge. The boys were home from school, so they were running around the neighborhood with all the neighborhood kids throwing snowballs at each other. And then the last day we had snow on the ground, they came in and throw a snowball at me inside the house. So I've locked them out, locked the doors, and they got an onslaught of snowballs because I locked them outside, went outside myself, made a big old pile of snowballs. One of the first ones I threw hit Carter, and I whizzed it. It was not, and he was moving, and it just right between the eyes. That was a lot of fun. But I don't like the cold weather at all. Part of the reason I moved to Texas. So, but made the most of it. It was fun.
It's nice. It mixes things up a bit. We all don't get to enjoy it like this, like very often. So it was nice to be able to go and just take it all in and be one with our neighbors.
Yeah, something like that.
All right. Well, we're going to end a little early today, 2 minutes early. Thanks for tuning into the show. See you guys next week.
See you next week. Catch us on the